Goeiemorgen mensen. Okay, so besides the country being in turmoil and the vacuum cleaner going on in the background, Merrick had to go and jinx us and say we've had a warm winter, because it has been pretty warm, and now we've got a cold front, and it's like a cold front. I'm actually chilly. Most of Pretoria is wearing 2 pairs of shorts. Man, anyway, let's talk about grass. So it's cold and it's windy, and in one part of the country it's cold and wet, and in another part of the country it's like Durban, is just mediocre all the time, kind of wet, kind of dry, kind of warm, kind of cold. Then you get Pretoria and Joburg, where I am, it's cold and dry. So let's have a look at my grass and we'll talk about how to look after some stuff. Alright, so here's the kikuyu. One of the very first things that you should look out for is, like this is, where is it? There's an indication of things starting to go a bit haywire. So you got that little like dried, husky, so this stuff. This is now, I mowed yesterday and the day before. I did a bit of a lazy man's mow, half one day, half the other day. But the first thing you're going to notice is that, and this is because I prepared in autumn for winter, is that the grass is good and dense. If I grab it and pull on it, it's something good for you to do if your grass is still green. If you've got like completely fully brown dormant grass, don't go do this because you're just going to rip it out. But if you do this on your grass and you wiggle around and all the rest of it, and you notice that it stays intact, it means that your root system is quite good. If it pulls out, it means that your root system is not good and you need to do something even now in winter about it. And during winter, one of the nice things to do would just be to keep applying heavy doses of a good kelp product, because it'll help with the root growth, and it will supply you with some auxins and cytokinins, which are also going to help with root growth and development, and a teeny tiny little bit of a fertilizing element in most kelp products then as well. And the better the kelp product, like a natural kelp plus for example, you're going to get your proteins, and it's going to help fatten up and strengthen up the plants a little bit better without the addition of nitrogen, because remember that's going to lead you to diseases and other bad things. So stuff to be aware of is like today, where okay, now it's started to calm down a little bit, but this morning was very heavy with the wind. There's snow on the mountains, so it's starting to pump through here by us. So when it gets windy, you must know that evapotranspiration, remember that's the combination of evaporation and transpiration. Evapotranspiration means that the plant is drying out and the soil very quickly, means you've got to put it back a little bit more water. You don't stop watering in winter. Now obviously be aware of your restrictions, like now in Pretoria we are restricted, can't water between 6 and 6. So yeah, be aware of, do the old school thing that I've been saying. Read your lawn, look at your lawn. If you see it's looking a bit dry and scraggly, if the soil in particular, if your lawn is dormant, then look at the soil. If the soil is looking a bit dry and under the weather, you've got to wet it. And if it's dry and half felt like wetting agent, then kelp products are going to help you a lot. Adding a synthetic phosphorus fertilizer like a 232 now, I don't think that's such a good idea. Wait until later in the season if you want to do that. Maybe like a late winter, early spring thing, you could maybe do that. But you know what, I don't know why I'm recommending 232. I'd never recommend 232 for anything. Famous last words, let's see what happens. But really, you don't need 232. Put down kelp. The reason that I say kelp for the guys who are up in the Halfveld in particular now, or for anybody who's got root issues during winter, is that is the, how should I put it, like the least destructive thing that you can do to try and get root growth and root strength and health happening. So do it that way. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about what the different regions are experiencing. So the Cape Townians at the moment, they're experiencing cold and wet. Their wet weather is on its way out. So they're going to start seeing less and less rain from, I think June should theoretically be their rainiest month. So from now, July, they'll be seeing less and less rain moving forward. So they got a different set of priorities to what us up here in the Halfveld will be doing. We are cold and dry, so we've got to worry about now as we start to get into spring. It's going to start getting hot, but we're not going to have water. So we kind of like cross over one another almost in a way there. So the Cape Townian guys, I think their beneficial product would be something along the lines of extra potassium. Not I think, it will be. Adding potassium is going to help prevent disease. A lot of guys, and I did notice there's a lot of mistakes that have happened now from the Cape Townian guys because they followed too many stupid groups on Facebook where the guys go and tell you, oh no, pump nitrogen all the way, you know, just pump. And now what's happened is the Cape Townians see that, okay, cool, their grass is nice and green and they're getting more and more rain. They get excited, and then they throw a bit of nitrogen down and it looks even greener. But you've put down a granular synthetic fertilizer. You've got like 3 months worth of sustain out of the product happening there, which is, it's just too much nitrogen with all that rain and then cold weather. You've actively messed up your lawn. So I do see a lot of Cape Townians with really nice lawns. Most of the guys are green, and then there's others now who are starting to pick up fungal issues and rot and stuff like that, and you could just the lawns are starting to look a little bit mucky. For you right now, 2 things that are going to be beneficial is adding a wetting agent, penetrative wetting agent, not just a normal old wetter and spreader, penetrative agent, so that the water can move. You don't want that water sitting. The second thing is the potassium. The potassium is going to help strengthen the plant, and as you start to see that the plant is sort of recovering a little bit, then you can change your tune a little bit again, and just sort of look after or maintain, wait until the temperatures start to increase again for you to handle the kind of water heat values that you guys are going to be holding there as well. So a little bit of phos and a good amount of potassium is the thing that's going to help you guys recover now. Kind of the same thing applies to the Joburg guys, but I think we're going to be finding the use of kelp much more helpful right now, because we've got no rain. So a product like kelp is going to help with root growth. It's going to help maintain moisture in the soil because of its organic content and just what it's all about, as well as in the plant. It's going to help the plant withstand the stresses. It's a stress relieving component, just like potassium is, which is why you can still use it up here in the Highveld. And yeah, the kelp is going to help you significantly, and for you, still a good penetrative wetting agent, because you are now cold and dry. So you have to use it to get water into the soil and to try and let's say maintain or retain the moisture in the soil. So you've got to keep your moisture good. A good dense sward plus a bit of water in the soil, not too much, is going to help you. Cape Townians, you want to move the water. Joburg guys, you want to kind of just have it in the ground in the first place. And then you've got, in the really cold regions, you guys don't really have much. I can't tell you, well, for warm season grasses, in the really cold regions, we got areas like, for those of you who don't know the country that we live in, South Africa, even if you live here, sometimes people don't know these things anyway, is areas like Bloemfontein, for example. Those guys can get down to like -10 in the winter. It is one of the areas that get as hot as Pretoria in summer and as cold as, like, it's really cold around here, like the mountains and Dar and those types of places. It gets as cold as the coldest places in the country and as hot as the hottest places in the country. So a place like Bloemfontein is a big bugger up on both ends of things. So those guys in their autumn and spring treatments are like, they're the most critical. So for us here in Pretoria, winters are relatively mild. We got to worry about days like today where it's really windy, that evapotranspiration is hitting us. So I've got to make sure that I just keep adding a little bit of water and keep the plant plump and moist, not nitrogen plump and lush, because that's going to induce disease. And you're going to, when you have that lush plant, you attract insects and all sorts of other problems as well. So just enough nitrogen, just the residual effect that's of whatever's happening. Even the teeny little bit of nitrogen that's in kelp products is enough, and that will help you sustain. And then for the guys who've got green grass, I've got a good number of clients where their grasses look like they're in the middle of summer. So lucky them, I'm jealous. But for those guys, don't do anything heroic right now. You can do what I've done and just top dress little patches, or you could do a complete light top dress if you feel that you want to or need to. Remember, top dressing is not don't think of it too culturally. You don't have to top dress every single year, and we'll talk about that in a different video. But yeah, if you need to do little touch-ups and your grass is still green and looking healthy, you can with confidence. Just don't cover the entire surface of the grass like when it's during growing season. You can, and you guys can put down, like the Vuma Calmags, a little bit of nitrogen and the magnesium complement. Now remember, magnesium is at the center of the chlorophyll cell. Chlorophyll production, everything's around magnesium. So having magnesium in the ground and the plant, as opposed to nitrogen for green, equals then good chlorophyll production, shorter days equals good chlorophyll production to you have that magnesium doing its thing. So it'll help keep the grass green and strong and not too weak with too much nitrogen. So anyway, that's enough info for now. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys again on the next one. Cheers.